Alright, guys, so this is another fanfiction idea, and this is one I've kind of done before. I did a version of it of more like what would Randy think of The Shadow, and this time around it's going to be a full blown crossover. Like, this is going to be a full blown crossover between Randy Cunningham and The Shadow. I always like doing these pulp characters and having them in here. I thought this would be kind of a fun story as well for this one. So how would this Randy Cunningham Shadow crossover go? Well, the story in here is that Randy is basically one night he gets a visit from a man who calls himself Lamont Cranston. And Cranston basically is talking to Randy's dad, and he's like, well, I'm here for the boy. And they're like, why? And he's like, well, you know why. It turns out that Randy's grandfather actually was an agent of the Shadow. Long ago, he was an agent of the Shadow who essentially was like, one day I'm going to give services to my family will now be indebted to you, because he was all in on the Shadow and everything else. So he basically reveals to Randy that, I waited. I didn't pick your father because I didn't see anything good in him, but I've been watching you for a while now, and now I think you're ready to join, me. I think you're ready to be a part of my group. I think you are more than ready to be a part of my group. His parents are like, no, you can't have him. Randy's grandfather may have been an agent to you, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean anything to us. And he's like, well, here's the thing. I'm either going to take the boy, or we're going to have a problem. Yeah, Shadow is that. The Shadow is that kind of cold, can be that cold. So for now, however, he does get, shooed away, and they're like, you know who I am. And the Shadow's like, you know who I am. So, just so you know, this is in no way, shape, or form over. I want you to understand that, right? Like, you guys understand that this is not going to end well for any of you. So, I'm gonna go now. I'll be back. So, Randy, just know that, I'm keeping my eyes on you. So, Randy's like, oh, shit, that was weird. Who was that? And he's like, who was that guy? Who is Lamont Cranston? And they're like, yeah, that was the Shadow. And he's like, what? And, yeah, they basically talk about, like, how Randy's grandfather long ago was an agent of the Shadow after his grandfather was saved by him. And he was all in on the Shadow. He was all in on the Shadow and his network. He was all in on it, and it was even like he went as so far as to be like, listen, if you need me at any point, I may be getting old and whatnot. So I want you to know, Shadow, that when I become no longer useful to your plans, like, or no longer useful to you, I want you to know that you can have anyone from my family, and they will gladly serve in your name. So the Shadow was like, okay, right on. So the Shadow has basically been watching the Cunningham family for decades. Remember, Lamont Cranston has mastered immortality in many cases. So the Shadow is basically has been watching the Cunningham family, and he did figure out that that now, granted, his parents don't know that he's the ninja, but Randy kind of suspects that maybe he was waiting for me to be the ninja. Oh God, does he know that I'm ninja? So as he's fighting robots and whatnot, when he's fighting robo apes and whatnot, he's getting overwhelmed and having all these robo apes come after him again and again, and he just starts hearing gunshots, followed by this cackling laughter, as the Shadow appears and just starts gunning down robots. And he's like, I'm more accustomed to shooting men than machines, but this will do. And Randy's like, sup, dude? Yeah. So so the Shadow's like, good evening, Mr. Cunningham. And he's like, I'm totally not Randy Cunningham. I'm ninja's over 500 years old. I'm not. And he's like, stop, boy. I know it's you. So Randy's forced to be like, how did you know it was me. And he's like I said, I've been watching you. I didn't want your father. He didn't. He wasn't of use to me. But you, I was starting to think that you had potential. But then when you got the mask, when you got the mask of the ninja, then I saw true potential. That's when I saw your fullest potential. So I think your skills could be used in my network. I think you could be a great asset to my network and to me. Wouldn't you like that? Wouldn't you like, you protect, Norrisville. You do a good job of protecting Norrisville, but wouldn't you prefer to protect more than this city? Wouldn't you like to protect more than what you're dealing with? And he's like, Norrisville is my job. I need to protect this city. That's what the ninja's been tasked for. And the Shadow's like, and that's fine, but I protect more. I have a larger network. And Randy goes, stop. I am nothing like you or your stupid network. Okay, I literally know you're I may not be good in history, but I know for a fact that you're a fucking murderer. The Shadow literally kills people, and I don't kill people, alright? You are a fucking murderer. And the Shadow is like, yeah, because I do what needs to be done, The Shadow is, he is justice, and the Shadow, and he's like, no, the Shadow is a front for you, because because I think deep down you like hurting these people. So, yeah, I'm not gonna, we may have the same color scheme and maybe the same scarves, but you know what? We're not the same at all. And the Shadow is like, I don't want to fight you, boy, but just so you know, and Randy's like, yeah, you, I couldn't take an old geezer like you. And the Shadow's like, want to put that to the test? So him and Randy get into a fight, and Randy, of course, is outclassed by the Shadow, but he's actually holding his own because the Shadow's using his guns, and he's like, you want to know the problem with guns? They jam, and he gets in close, hits it with his sai, and just as the gun's firing, he hits the chamber and jams it, and Randy and the ninja's the Shadow is like, well done, boy. You are, you actually have some skill to you. I'm actually I'm legitimately impressed. And he's like, you ain't seen nothing yet. And he goes to high kick him, but the Shadow blocks him and throws him over a building. Randy manages to throw out, but he misses. He misses because he's trying to throw out with his scarf, and he misses. And the Shadow catches him and helps him get back on the roof. And the Shadow's like, I wasn't going to kill. At no point was I going to kill you, boy. But you do have some major potential to you. He's like, yeah, let me show you some things and he's like, I'm sure I've heard rumors about the Ninjanomicon, and it can only teach you so much, where I can teach you so much. I can teach you way more than the book ever will. And he's like, did it teach you about conceal, reveal? And he's like, that's something I learned day one in the monks' temples. And he actually gets it's like that scene in The Dark Knight Rises where it's like, oh, darkness is your ally, and Randy gets caught by the Shadow, and he just flings him aside, and he's like, kid, you can either come with me, but your grandfather put you in this debt, so you are either going to come willingly or I'm going to drag you. And these two, they just keep getting into this fight over and over again. And eventually Randy and the Shadow it's kind of, if this was a comic, it'd be a parody of that scene of Cowboy Bebop Ballad of Fallen Angels with the sword up to, Randy has this sword down on up to the Shadow's neck because he thinks he's got him pinned, but he's got the Shadow has his gun under his shin. He's like, I'd hate to shoot you right now. So eventually the Shadow's like, all right, I'll go, but I want you to understand that this isn't over. Just keep that in mind, boy. I'll be seeing you soon, good boy, Randy. And the Shadow goes off on his merry way. So there you go, guys. There's my Shadow Randy Cunningham crossover. I might make this a trilogy, depending on how well this does. Yeah, I'd like to make this a trilogy, but first I want to see how well this does on its own. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this Randy Cunningham Shadow crossover? Did you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. And once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.